Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. This is the Mystic Mavens, and it is April 16th, and we're going to be talking about acupuncture tonight. And I'm a spiritual counselor and teacher.
And occasionally we get double feedback from when we are sharing and the feedback. So here we go.
I'm Carol Pilkington, and I'm a spiritual teacher and counselor, and I work with people that are going through high anxiety, depression, stress, and grief and loss, so that they can be more present to the life that they're living right here, right now. And I'm going to hand it off to Claudia.
Thank you, Carol. Hello, everyone. I'm Claudia Rocafort, and welcome to the Mystic Mavens. This is so much fun to share with all of you. I am an executive coach and a business coach, and what most people don't know until this point where I'm sharing with the world is that I've spent 35 years of my life dedicated to spiritual knowledge and to finding the tools and the ways to clear whatever is in the way of us being our best self. So I'm a spiritual facilitator, and I love to share this knowledge with all of you. And saying that, let me pass it on to my sister, Kathy.
Hello, Kathy Basel here, beautiful Denver, Colorado. And I too am just intrigued by all things Mystic Maven-ish. So I'm looking forward to our conversation tonight. The way I work with women, people, I work primarily with women to remove some of the barriers that we've been collecting along the way to keep us from being our most authentic, confident, kind of big, bold, bad girl selves. So let's just take it out. So it's time for us women to step into our power. And I'm looking forward to weaving some of that into our conversation tonight as we talk about the magic of, I'm calling it the magic of acupuncture, but Joanna is going to talk to us a bit about the science and how it works. So Joanna, take it away.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to be here tonight to share one of my passions, I would say. For those that don't know, I am a spiritual holistic teacher, and part of my teachings is through Chinese medicine. And one, how it has helped me. That's what brought me to Chinese medicine, and I love everything about it. And mixing it with my spiritual practices, because like Claudia said, years of dedicating my life to the spiritual realm in many different facets is my other passion. So joining these two together is like heaven on earth for me. So as we go into tonight, acupuncture. So what is acupuncture? A lot of people may ask that question, and they want to know, is it just needles? Is this, it's actually an ancient art. This art has years, 25, I want to say almost 2,500 years ago is when this art started. And what it is inserting thin needles, sterile needles, that actually balances the energy in the body. We do this by putting it on specific points, known as acupoints, in order to promote healing and balance in the body. A lot of people say, I'm afraid of needles. This is something that does not pierce the skin. It's actually, it doesn't go deep where you'll bleed or to those layers. Our skin actually has 7 different layers, and it just pierces it. And when I say pierce it, it's actually just moving the energy. We'll go into later the different layers of energy that our body has, but that is called our defensive chi. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. That's what it's actually piercing. And your defensive is what actually protects the body. And all it's doing is just a little, it's like I want to say an energy burst for your body. The origins of acupuncture can be traced back to China over 2,500 years ago. According to the legend, it was discovered by a Chinese physician named Bin Hua, who is, and y'all gonna forgive me tonight for my pronunciation.
Yeah, your Chinese is a little rusty, is it?
Okay, we're gonna start there. There will be a little grace tonight for this pronunciation. Okay, because there are some things I don't even try to pronounce in school at all. So, like I said, Ben Hua, who said he had these thin metal needles and he used them. But what was so, I guess, back then, these needles, we look at them as sterile needles now, but they were just needles. They were just anything that had a point on them, actually. And when we studied the ancient part of it, these were actually tools that they carved and they would use, and it would just be to move the energy. And because of the understanding of it, a lot of things were then developed from it, is what I would say. So now you hear of things like moxibation, cupping, acupressure. These are all different tools that alternative medicines that came out of Chinese medicine. And all they're doing is releasing the energy. We could go into, and I've gone into it, how the body may talk to you. So the release of this energy is the tension, the pain that you may feel. We'll go over some points later. And sometimes when you just feel the points, they're tender. You'll feel it. And I don't want to jump too far ahead. So we're going to stay with the history of it right now. So today, acupuncture is practiced around the world. It is recognized as safe and effective form of complementary and alternative medicine. Now, according to Western medicine, and I must do the comparison, only because Western medicine is treated totally different from Chinese medicine. It's no comparison. When they relate the two, they really cannot, just based off of even the language. When you translate the Chinese language, certain words don't translate in Western language. So understanding that it's really two different philosophies, two different thought processes, two different in every combination, but it is related to a lot of the issues and things that we deal with because it's used so commonly now across the world.
Can I dive in and just kind of help with that distinction?
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, the Western world, they're diagnosing and treating the symptom, where to me, I think of Chinese medicine and opening like the meridians or the natural pathways that energies are to flow through if we're healthy and balanced. And acupuncture helps when we're imbalanced to create that. So it's getting to the core issue, which is that lack of flow. The body's going to heal itself as long as we keep it balanced and open and flowing. That's.
And the other part of the philosophy that I think is really interesting to mention is, like you said, we in Western treat the symptoms. They're looking for the origins. Yeah. Where is the origin of the problem, to clear that block and to be able to get that balance.
Exactly. So usually, okay, so exactly, ladies. Carol, would you like to add anything?
No, you're doing great.
Nope.
I don't want to repeat everything. So you're doing great.
So how was I introduced to acupuncture? How I was introduced to acupuncture was getting hurt. I was doing a city challenge, what they call, which is like those Spartan races. And I went up, I was second to last exercise, I guess you would call it. I went up, grabbed the monkey bars, couldn't make it across, and I knew it. And I jumped down. When I jumped down, my knee popped totally out of place. And tore what they called my ACL, MCL, and meniscus. I could not walk. They had to ambulate me to a hospital, and that right there led to me dealing with Western medicine. And for the most part, I had been a healthy person. So this was the first time I really had to deal with doctors and just the care of getting better. I couldn't walk at this point in my life. I had to have surgery. When I went in for the surgery, they didn't want to even do all 3 parts of the knee at one time. They told me that it was such an extensive surgery that I needed to break this surgery up into different parts to have it. And I couldn't commit to that. I said, if you're going to cut me, we need to do this one time and one time only. And so they did. I had to sign waivers. I had to sign all kind of paperwork and get it notarized to say that I was authorizing them to do this. It was a big deal. And I went in for the surgery, and now it's time for recovery. And my doctor at the time told me that the recovery would be extensive. But what ended up happening was my insurance would only pay for me to go get treated or physical therapy for 21 days. You only got 21 days of therapy, and then it stops for 90 days or 6. I can't even remember, because this was back in 2016, I believe. And before I would start therapy again. And in that time, you're not getting healed. You're not. So at that time is when I decided, okay, what are you going to do for yourself? I actually started massage school 2017, January of 2017. I had my surgery September of 2016. By January, I was enrolled in massage school. And that was because I needed to get treated. It was more about treatment. What can I do for my body? I was going and paying for massages outside of my insurance. So now what can I do for me to learn so I don't be in this position anymore? And as I was going to school for massage, they also had acupuncture. So I started getting treated. My knee, the inflammation, the water that was surrounding it, I had so many things going on. I could barely walk. In January, I was still on crutches, and I started school. I did treatment, and by, I want to say 4 months, that April, I was able to walk without the crutches. And I had not returned to physical therapy. So acupuncture really got me walking again. During that time, I was also going through a divorce. Emotionally, I was a wreck. This is the first time that I had to handle something in my life without a partner. I was down. It was so many emotions that were happening during that time. Acupuncture saved my life with my emotions, with everything. And at that time, I had no idea what was happening, what was going on. I was entering this school just for me, just to make Joanna better. Nobody else. I promise you that. This was just for me. And they say when we do these things for ourselves, obviously sometimes it's a bigger or greater calling for it. And my mission is to revolutionize healthcare, bringing it back to self-care. That's why that's my mission, because I know how your body can heal itself. I did it. I experienced it. So acupuncture to me is not only a practice of medicine, it's a practice of life, because I also include herbal medicines. I include these things that helps balance. We had a conversation before this. Sometimes we get tilted and we don't even realize what's going on. Bringing it back to these natural practices help. They talk about these needles, and And it's not even about the needles, because I'll show you how you'll be able to push points on your body for anxiety and all kinds of headaches. LI4, it's the command point of your entire head. So when you have a headache, what it can do for you. I put out everyday energy revivals for people. And it's because I want people to understand how your energy truly revives you. It heals you. And to understand that, I found it through acupuncture. Now, the science behind acupuncture, does anybody have anything they want to add to maybe their story with acupuncture?
Go, Carol. Mine was because I found it about 30 years ago, and I would say that it saved my life too. I had a sinus infection and went to my GP, and he gave me antibiotics. And I don't like antibiotics, but I was so anxious to take them because my energy was so completely flatlined. And it was really painful. And he said, give it 2 or 3 days, the antibiotics will kick in. I'm like, okay. Well, Friday comes, it's 3 days by this time, and I'm getting a black eye because my sinus cavity is so inflamed. And I go into him and he says, oh, are you taking the antibiotics? I'm like, yes. He's like, well, just give it another 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, you are crazy. So I had been to a session with this acupuncturist. I'm like, I wonder, just like you, I didn't really even know what this was really all about, but I wonder if this crazy lady can help me. So I go there, and literally I felt so much better just walking out of the office. But she said, within 24 hours, you'll be 100% better. And I was pushing my mom around in a wheelchair, Christmas shopping at the mall. So that was an instant win over. And so just like you, I'm like on a mission to recognize, because I've had other experiences in the traditional healthcare world where they're taking care of symptoms, and thank God that that's available to us, like a broken leg kind of a thing, and the surgery that you were able to have. But to truly, our bodies are downright miracles, and there's no way we can begin to understand what goes on with them. So for us to interfere with that healing process the way I believe Western medicine does is a disservice to our body and our healing. And I believe in the complementary kind of services like acupuncture is a core one. So if we can keep that energy open, flowing, and balanced, like, honestly, go body go.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm just going to give some, what do we call these? Actual, well, we went through the history. I'm not moving fast enough, am I? Now we'll be going through just,
Fine.
say that again?
You're fine.
Oh, okay. So in acupuncture, there's the way it's done is through different systems, is what I'll call them. And it's the process of, we'll start with the 3 main treasures, is what they call them, the 3 treasures. But understanding that your Jing, your Qi, and your Shen. And these 3 treasures, with these 3 treasures, why is this? With the 3 treasures, they're not anything physical. Your Jing is your essence. Your essence is what comes from your parents. And it's the foundation of your body. It's often compared to your DNA or your genetics in Western medicine. It is believed to be stored in the kidneys. So when you say you're using your Jing or your essence in Chinese, it's usually being drawn from the kidneys, is what they would say. Your Jing is depleted over time. It's one of the things that cannot be replenished. So what depletes your Jing? Poor lifestyle, excessive stress, poor food habits, things that do not increase your vibration, that will lower your vibration, that lowers your energy. Why does a poor lifestyle, lack of sleep, why does these things? Because the body is a rhythm, it flows. So when your Jing is not flowing and it's being, what we like to say, hit with other things, meaning I call them gravity things. So when gravity holds us, it holds the energy and it doesn't allow it to move. So when your Jing or your Qi is actually the life force energy that flows. They relate that to many different things in religions, I would say. We could relate it, but it's the life force energy that flows through the body. It's what makes your heart beat without you having to think about it. It what allows you to breathe without having to think about it. That's your Qi. Then you have your Shen. We call your Shen your spirit. Your spirit comes from your heart. But your Shen can be disturbed. You'll hear people say, my spirit was disturbed by something. Usually when your Shen is disturbed in Chinese medicine, it's usually your mind. They're usually talking about the mind in Chinese medicine. So before I mentioned that the translation is sometimes lost. And that's one of the things that can be lost is when they say spirit and mind is one and the same in Chinese medicine. So understanding your Jing, which is your essence, and that's from your genetics, DNA. Your Qi is what flows through your body. And then your Shen is your mind and your heart, really, the spirit of who you are. That's the foundational basis of what Chinese medicine is diagnosed through. If we had to say a diagnosis, we don't really say diagnosis, but I'm going to use some Western terms tonight. If I had to say diagnosis, that's what it would be. We just create treatment plans for people. We don't diagnose because that's just not what we do. Oh, this is fun. I love my mouse. Look at this.
And I'm loving the understanding of the three different forces and that just observing how they create that balance, right? It reminds me actually of a quick story of a very powerful session for myself. I was covered in guttate psoriasis from strep throat, had scarlet fever, I looked like the exorcist. It was not fun. And hurting. I was healing from the loss of my brother on the towers on September 11th. And I ended up having to go and work with a doctor who was a holistic doctor. And he's the one who introduced me to acupuncture. And I had never done acupuncture because I was really afraid of needles. So part of that healing process was doing a fast and healing from the inside out. And part of it was shifting my energy precisely. And I remember he showed me sort of how the acupoints and the energy kind of flowed through the entire body. And he did several points, some of which did not hurt. I couldn't even feel them, but I felt the relief from them. And then I remember he put a point here in my heart. And boy, that was like opening Pandora's box.
Wow.
Next thing I knew, it was just all flowing out, the tears, the pain, the release. And this might sound really disagreeable, but it was so helpful because it really was the block of the energy that it allowed to release. And when you said, that the Shin and the spirit comes from the heart, it was almost as if I had blocked all of that. And through acupuncture, I was able to be in touch with it again so that I could begin to really get in tune with my body, my feelings, my emotions, and my healing.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
Acupuncture is a great tool. It is a great tool. The thing is, I want people to understand those things sometimes happen on a massage table. When the pressure needs to be relieved, it must come out. And moving the energy, you can do it yourself. That's why there's acupressure points. You can push the points to actually move the energy yourself. It's one of the most empowering things I feel we have as a tool to help guide our energy. And like you said, when we need, when we have a heavy gravity on us, you need another energy to help move it. And that's why they say when 2 or 3 are gathered, that's how they in the Bible, it'll say when 2 or 3 are gathered, the power will show up. It's because sometimes some things are so heavy that you need another energy to help move it forward. That's why coaching and all these things are facilitators are necessary, because some things just need help. And sometimes when we're in the spirit and in our own mind, we need an awakening, a conscious awareness of what's going on. And we sometimes don't see that in our own storm. And that's why we have these tools. But when you do become aware of what's going on with you, we have points all over our bodies that we can hit. And like Kathy mentioned, she mentioned the meridians and the organs, and this is how we do acupuncture, is through the meridians, through the pathways, which are chi flow. You would relate that to your veins, to your arteries. These things are like the meridians of the body. Every meridian is connected to an organ. Every organ has a yin and yang pair. Balance. That's the key to Chinese medicine, is balance. Yin and yang are interrelated, interconnected, everything. There's no separation. We talked about duality last time we met. That's yin and yang. You cannot have one without the other. So in Chinese medicine, when you have your meridians leads to organs. We have like the liver and gallbladder. You have the stomach and the small intestines. You have the spleen and not stomach and small intestines, heart and small intestines. You have the spleen and the stomach. You have the lung and the large intestines, and the kidney and the bladder. Those are all yin-yang pairs. How these yin-yang pairs operate in your organs, each have a different function. These functions now are affected by the things we do, your jing, your essence, your shen. When those things are affected, when your spirit is affected, when you have a poor diet or a poor lifestyle or anything that's affecting your essence, this is what throws us out of balance. So a lot of times you'll hear, I don't know, when you go for treatment, if they even talk to you about what they're doing or the points that they're doing, it's all balancing. Behind me, I have like the body, and it's showing there's points on every point of our body. I'll never learn all the points. I don't think anybody does. And at first I used to say, what's the difference with each point? But it's learning each meridian connects me to an organ. And then that organ now connects me to an emotion. That emotion connects me to a season in life. It's so interconnected with everywhere we go. So I have here the 5 elements. The 5 elements is another treatment that we use, and it's using wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And they call it the generating cycle, the controlling cycle, and it's just showing how nature, this is how they relate the body in Chinese medicine, is to nature. It's not a decaying thing that happens. It's a cycle that happens. It's a cycle of life. We have times where we are happy, and we're going to have times where we are sad. We have times to be up, and we have times to be asleep. It's all in cycles. And that's what Carol was trying to tell us last week with duality, is that it all kind of comes in cycles. It's understanding the cycle of you. And that's what acupuncture really is. Even with like me now at the age I'm at, I'm watching my monthly cycle and how it changes and paying attention to it and these things. This is what the body orders. So like if you hear a person say, I have high blood pressure, or I have diabetes, or I have anxiety, or there's a cycle that's not flowing. And that's what we get to, the root of what's not flowing for you. Any questions?
Actually, as you were sharing that, Joanna, I'd love to remind anybody who's listening today that we did a show on feng shui that also talks about the 5 elements and Chinese philosophy and how they can be used to create energy in your space, as well as you're mentioning, shift energy in our bodies. And so it's very powerful, that analogy, because it's really about the nature of what's flowing, what's working, what's balancing, and what is that generating cycle versus the reverse. There are the degenerating cycles, the things that will not support. So we want to make sure that, for example, right, wood supports fire because fire is made out of wood. Fire would support metal because it actually molds it and creates it, and so on and so forth. So that generating cycle is
okay. So with that, because fire doesn't support metal.
okay.
So it comes in the generating cycle, and then when fire and metal, that's a controlling cycle.
Oh, thank you.
So the heart or the fire will control metal. That's what makes it melt. It changes its form. When it's generating, it helps it grow. So in the generating cycle, you'll start with like wood. Wood will burn, and now it'll go to fire. You understand? Like, so it changes like that. It's generating. It's creating something. In the controlling, it's destroying.
Yes.
So yeah, that's how the cycle, that's how we do it in Chinese medicine. And different, because now in Japan it's done differently. So it depends on how you learn, because not even all of them use wood, fire, earth, metal, and water for their elements. So because we also have like the 4 elements. So there's different element cycles that we learn, but in the generating and the controlling, there's actually 4 different cycles. But in the generating and the controlling, the heart would be controlling over the metal. It generates the earth, but it controls the metal.
That's right. Yep.
Makes
sense.
So
Makes sense. Yeah, no, I made a mistake, and
No.
because it's true. The fire then generates the earth,
right.
and the earth generates the metal.
That's right. That's right. Right.
Yep.
Right. So going in that, and it's all of that is to say that's what's happening to us in our bodies. There's things that generate us and things that truly deplete us.
Yeah.
But in acupuncture and understanding the philosophy of it and understanding that, one, a lot of it is based off of the non-material of who we are. And the non-material is your Jing, your Qi, and your Shen. These are things that are not tangible, that you cannot just feel and say that this is what it is. So in Chinese medicine, a lot of it is theory. It's based off of the fact of who you are and what you are experiencing. That's why I love when you said you had to go through a fast. A lot of people say they go through detoxes and cleanses and all of this stuff. I like to tell people, when you fast, you come into who you are and the body begins to speak to you. You start hearing. Because with fasting, there should be intention setting. There should be questions asked. When you're cleansing and just detoxing, that to me is organ related. You might need to detox an organ or cleanse an organ. And that comes sometimes from, like I said, each organ in the body holds different emotions. It's different times of the year that's better for it. Like we say, the spleen loathes moisture. So it doesn't like too much moisture. Understanding that and what causes moisture to your stomach and your spleen, so when I go with a client, I go through all of this. It's now understanding, what is your diet like? Because your body is rejecting something, and being able to go to what that may be and put together the right meridians and organs and points that's needed to shift the energy for your healing. So that's the key concepts of of Chinese medicine. It would be the meridians, the organs, the 5 elements. It would be your Jing, your Qi, and your Shen. These are because when you walk in the office, we can see your Jing, we can see how your Qi flows, and we could see how your spirit. That's the first thing we're looking for, is a person's Shen. You can tell a person's Shen based off of their eyes, based off of their skin color, if they're flush, if they're pale, if they're anything like that. We have so many telltale signs that our body is speaking that a lot of times these are things we are oblivious to. The other thing that we use is the tongue and the pulse. The tongue and the pulse are the 2 diagnostic tools that we use the most in Chinese medicine. That's when we touch your body. That's usually the only thing we touch you for, is your is your pulse, and ask you to stick out your tongue. Other than that, most diagnoses come from just observing and what you're telling us. The history of who you are and what you're doing is what really tells a practitioner what's going on. Are you sleeping at night? And most of these things are related to Western terms: anxiety, insomnia, depression. So many of these things are showing up, and they show up on your tongue and in your pulse. How do we know this? We call it a wiry pulse. We call it a rapid pulse. We call it a heavy pulse. We call it a pearl pulse. There's so many different pulses that I'm studying. It's ridiculous. The key is, when you touch the person, you actually start feeling the different types of pulses. And I never knew that. The first time I sat down and had my pulse done, the woman asked me, "How long you been on your cycle?" What? How do you know I'm on my cycle? And then I had one time said, "How long ago did you eat? Did you just eat?" And I was just blown away by that they can tell that just from feeling the pulse. And she told me back then, back in ancient times, they had people that were just trained on the pulse. That's how scientific or how accurate the pulse can be, just knowing the pulse. And the tongue, like this tongue that's up here on the screen, we call that a deviated tongue. It's actually going to the side, and it tells a whole lot. It tells us that it's wind in the body, because deviation means wind is in the body. Wind shows up as many different ailments or different things, and one of them is a cold, sniffles, things like that is wind. Chinese medicine associates everything with dampness, with nature, understanding nature.
Which I think that's a powerful distinction, because it's actually, I think in our world, we've gotten so far away from nature. Our bodies, our beings are part of that. And that's what I love about this tool, Joanna.
Yeah, and so much of the Chinese, because the feng shui, the I Ching, all of these are symbols that they relate, because they're allegories. They're so much easier to understand that way. It's picturesque. So for a Qing, for example, would be, water over the marshes. Well, that creates its sort of dampness. Whereas you create sun over the mountain, it's a very different energy, or fire over a mountain. So all of the Chinese really use nature to describe the different energies and the different conditions, which I love, like you were saying, Kathy.
Yeah, it's amazing how they really bring in every element, that they bring in all of nature, that we are part of nature. We are not separate from it. And we in the Western world have such a hierarchical perspective of life. And unlike many other cultures where everything is one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even when you think about getting grounded, like spending time in nature, it's like this is helping us to reset to our natural set points. And so something as non-invasive as acupuncture. Did you mention you're going to show us some of the acupoints?
Right. So I was just going to go over a few of them with you guys. One I mentioned was PC6. So PC6 is right here on the wrist. And you could use that for like motion sickness, anxiety. PC6 is a very powerful point for what else does PC6 do? Is vomiting, nausea, insomnia, anxiety. And then you'll find multiple points do multiple things. Like I said, we have LI4, which is like if you make yourself a fist and just like right here in the middle. It's like on the back of your hand between your thumb and your pointer. It's like the middle between your pointer and your thumb. And it's that point right there has a calming effect on your body, but it's the command point of the head. So it's really used for stress and anxiety and headaches. So this is a very big point. And it's LI4 is for the large intestine. So it helps with digestion as well. If you push hard enough, you'll actually feel the dent in your like in your hand. The beauty about most points in the body is that when we study the bones, they all have like little dents where these points are. And it's so amazing to feel them sometimes. Like one of the points I do here on my eyes, stomach ache, then you have here, but sinus infections. That's a big one. Kathy is right in here. This is I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this point, but it's
The nose point.
It's an extra point that they have, and you feel it right under your cheekbone. And if you just press down in there, that opens up your sinuses. I usually do them one at a time, but it's great for opening up the sinuses. I've taught my kids how to do that one years ago, and it helps. Then you have what we call stomach 36. Stomach 36 is another major point in the body. Stomach 36 is that you put like this, these 4 fingers right under your knee, like kind of like it's on the side of your knee. I didn't get a picture of this one. So it's at the lower leg. Look, you'll see my pink sweatpants, but it's right here on the lower leg. Like if you have 4 fingers and it's right on that knee. And this is boosts your energy, improves overall vitality. This is a great point that I used a lot for my knee, actually. And there's quite a few points in the knee that help. But this point, stomach 36, is overall immune booster, is what they kind of call it. It helps boost your energy, your digestive problems, fatigue, anything like that. Stomach 36 can help boost that. Then you have bladder 60. This one is usually used for like sciatic pain, back pain. Insomnia and anxiety is a huge thing. So a lot of these points are used for that. Bladder 60 is behind the ankle bone, kind of, and down in the, I don't want to put my feet on camera. So. And the depression behind the ankle bone. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Kathy?
Oh, I was just gonna to have you explain because you're calling this the bladder, and people are like, "But my bladder's up here." So can you explain? How
Right.
the
Okay.
breathing-
So yes. Okay. So like these points, what happens is going back to them being related to an organ. So every point on the body runs through a meridian. The meridians are named for
After
the
the
organs.
Yeah.
For the organs.
And that's why, like in reflexology, the bottom of your foot reflects so much. Like the ending points of those meridians are located in the foot, so you can stimulate the different things. So it's kind of along the same line somewhat.
So reflexology, and with the ear as well, the ear is the entire body as well as your foot is the entire body. So when we study the ear, I have an ear here. It's like every point, this one doesn't have all the points on it. I'm trying to see what I have around me, but you have to be able to, like, I have to practice needling every point on this ear and I study with this. So what I do is I'll just write out the points first to be able to do it. But the ear is the entire body. It has every organ in your ear. So like the kidney, it has like my little earring here. That's the first thing they told me. You know, you punctured your kidney. So these things that we sometimes do to our bodies, we don't even realize we're disrupting the balance of something.
Okay, so let me ask, what about tattoos?
Well, tattoos, yeah. Well, you let my professor tell me I'm all screwed up. So because I'm tatted. So but anything that disrupts the flow, me having C-sections, this is what he told me. He goes, "Do you have orgasms?" I go, "What?" I'm so shocked. And I'm like, I guess so. I don't. But having the C-sections disrupts the flow of energy. So I had to get treated there and I don't even know if I'm still really getting like, I don't know. Does it ever really come back? But I know I didn't, after my surgeries, I didn't have feeling there for a long time. I did not have feeling there, where now I can say I feel a little bit more.
Yeah.
I still won't say I have, like, it's almost like a numbness that just stays there. So it does disrupt the flow. Tattoos, it must disrupt the flow. Anything that we do to our bodies disrupts the flow of energy. It's just, how do you balance it? So if I'm gonna get a tat, maybe I should go for a treatment. You know what I mean? Because it's certain things that you're gonna do that may deplete your jing, your essence. It's I don't want to say inevitable, but there are things that we're gonna do that may deplete it. But how do we balance it? That's the key I want everybody to kind of look at. This with acupuncture, with massage, with cupping, with any type of modality. We have tapping. They have so many different things that people use now. And all this stuff is to move your energy. So you don't have stuck energy. That's what this is all about. What is the vibration? What I want everybody to understand here is that our energy shows up everywhere, on your tongue, on your pulse, on your body. It shows up. Your body is speaking to you loud and clear, and it's just paying attention to it. And when you don't understand what's happening, find somebody that may, and somebody that's going to explain it to you. I've gone to doctors that don't even touch me, that just say, "Oh, you have this, and go take this pill," and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And if I ask, what will the pill do for me? They can't even ask me. They say, you'll get a description when you get the pill.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's not a great treatment plan, is what I call it.
But really, just, I mean, think about 90% of the doctor visits are related to stress. So if you could just incorporate a self-healing type of or other healing practice like acupuncture to help bring that stress level down so that your body can function optimally, so that it can heal. But also just something as simple as digestion. If we're stuck in that fight or flight and we can't digest, or if you've compromised your liver because you're so in that cycle of stress that's uninterrupted, then your liver and kidney are not able to detoxify your body. So you're slowly getting more toxic and less nutrition over time, because your cells aren't able to metabolize the food that's coming in. So you might be doing all the right things, but if for whatever reason you've got some type of stress cycle going on, acupuncture is awesome for that. And the other thing I'd like to throw in is there's a branch of acupuncture called NAET, which specializes in allergies. And it's allergy season coming up. They say, yeah, there's lots of pollen in the air, but to me, the way I interpret, I like to make up the stories of how acupuncture works, is that when we have allergic reaction to something, it's because our brain is believing that element is somehow an invader, and acupuncture can go in there and help to rewire the meaning, the improper meaning that it's given to, whether it's pollen, or people are allergic to grass, or food is a huge one, food sensitivities. Like acupuncture can really help the body go back and understand how to metabolize these things that we're exposed to all the time. Our world, there's so much toxins and other things that is weighing down our body. So it can help our body to let that go, so that it can, again, begin the open communication flow and the flow of energy, so that it can optimally do what it needs to do.
Exactly.
The other thing I'd love to point out, that acupuncture can be used for so many different things. And we were talking about the ear. I remember when I was trying to quit smoking, I used acupuncture in my ear, precisely. And it was so powerful and helpful to be able to quit smoking. It can be used to reduce appetite, reduce anxiety. It can be used for all different kinds of healing. So I'd love to bring that out, because anything that's out of balance is what's causing dis-ease. It's the discomfort that our bodies are not experiencing homeostasis. And so just like meditation is helpful, breath work is helpful, acupuncture, acupressure, there are so many modalities and tools. And as Kathy was saying, if we can follow ways in which we can prevent by following a kind of routine that's self-care, and incorporate a walk, incorporate some exercise, the things that we talk about and that we all know, a better diet. If I'm going to go cheat and have my glass of wine and my donut, then I might as well make sure that I'm also putting in the time for my meditation, my breath work, and a little exercise to complement, right? So the beauty of acupuncture is that rebalancing of energy, and it's one of the many modalities that we can use for many, many things that are out of balance.
Exactly. And because I mentioned, and we mentioned these modalities, and the thing about acupuncture and even herbal medicine is they just are different levels of the modality. So sometimes it depends on how deep do you need to retrain the body, because that's what it is. It's just, and one thing I want y'all to understand is when you go into acupuncture, there should be a level of awareness. And the fact that you want the healing, that you're looking for this healing. Because some people are going in, and I hear people come out and, oh, that didn't work. Well, it takes treatments, and it's a natural alternative medicine. When you want a fast response, is one, that's what Western medicine is for. But two, is because your symptoms are now screaming at you. Mm-hmm. The key to all of this is paying attention to you. When your body signals a pain, it's time to pay attention. Don't ignore it. Don't take a pill and say, I'll deal with that later. That's not what acupuncture is for. The person that's ready to pay attention to their body and ready to release what's hurting them, the dis-ease. Because dis-ease comes from not releasing. That's what dis-ease comes from, is not releasing. So being able to go into acupuncture or any of these alternative medicines or modalities comes with a releasing. That's what you're doing it for, is for a releasing. Tapping, I've done tapping. Tapping, you still have to release. Massage, releasing. People could be on my table. I've had people just start crying because they need the release. The body needs it. That point that Claudia is talking about, CV17, that's our heart point. That point right there can release so much in your body beyond the heart. And once it pierces the heart and starts releasing that energy, remember, we are energetic beings having a human experience. Once that energy is released, it's filled with that, what you need. So learning to release what's not serving you so you can be filled back up with what will, that's the process of acupuncture. That's the process of alternative medicines, is being able to release those things that are causing you dis-ease in your body and allowing yourself to be filled with what will serve you.
And I'm going to make a little shameless plug here in the sense that the four of us specialize in different ways of supporting people release mind, body, and spirit. And it's on so many different levels, from Carol's work through astrology or through grief or through working through the emotions, through your work, of acupuncture, through Kathy's work of clearing the limiting beliefs and the baggage and the stories that we've been carrying. I do a little bit of all of that, and I do a lot of heart-centered meditation to clear where that disease is in our bodies as well, or the blocks that come a little bit from those beliefs. And I bring this up because we get to look for ways to support ourselves in whatever that way works for you, whether it's acupuncture, whether it's getting through the coaching, whether it's working through the grief. There are ways that we can support you, and there are ways that complement for your being able to reach that homeostasis again, that balanced, that makes you feel whole and energetic and complete and vibrant. The vitality, as Kathy would call it, which I love. So we want to support all of you watching and listening, and let you know that we're here, that you can find us at mysticmavens.com or mysticmavens.
US.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just not tonight.
Not tonight.
Yes. If we can be of support to any of you at any point through any of these modalities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So next time, we're at the top of the hour. Is this going to be May 7th?
That's me. Yeah. So we'll be talking about stepping into your feminine power. So one of my favorite topics, because I believe we've been in a very masculine heavy operating system for the society, and the divine feminine is coming in. That's allowing us to begin to step into, especially for women, stepping into our own way of being, which is more collaborative and sustainable, and coming from compassion and connection with this oneness that we're talking about. So getting back into your feminine flow and back into this nature. So the topic is stepping into your feminine power. And I can't wait to hear it, because I know Carol and I will banter. I want to know your perspective about what it means to even step into your power. Like, we're more powerful than we recognize. So this is going to be a juicy one. I think I love this group, because we all come from different backgrounds and have this strong desire. It's many languages, many different perspectives on helping us to step more fully into our authentic selves. Our master manifestors become active, and each one of us has a great little perspective towards that. So it'll be good. May 7th.
Yay.
I can't wait.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. See you then.
Love and light, everyone.